Hey everyone, hope you're doing well. My name is Seb Alex and welcome to this video. Today I want to talk about what animal rights activists and vegan activists should not do when it comes to their advocacy. Now, I in the past have made similar mistakes, which is what made me think, well, if I've done this, I would have really appreciated if I had learned about it earlier so that I would have changed it earlier and become a better activist for the animals. So today we're going to be talking about the three main points that I want to share with you, and I'm really looking forward to hear your feedback. Now you might be wondering why I have this kill counter running, but stay until the end of the video to find out why I'm using it. So the first thing I want to talk about is talking about veganism as a compassion or a love issue. I've done this myself a few years ago when I used to write on Facebook about veganism. I used to say we have to make our circle of compassion bigger and include all animals in our compassionate decisions and have love towards them, etc., etc. But if you actually think about it, veganism is not about compassion. Veganism is not about loving animals. Veganism is about justice for animals. And you don't have to love someone, you don't have to have compassion towards someone in order not to kill them or exploit them or discriminate against them. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying you shouldn't have compassion or you shouldn't love animals, but when you portray it as a compassion or love-based theory or philosophy, then people who do not identify with that certain love for certain animals can actually get away with their arguments as to why they look at animals the way they do. So when I say this, obviously I'm also talking about claiming that all animals are our friends. They're not really our friends. Now, again, I used to say friends and not food, but if you really think about it, we can't make this decision for other animals. Other animals are not here to be our friends. It's nice when we have friends as other animals, such as dogs and even some animals that are farmed, like cows and sheep and chicken. But if you're protecting animals, it doesn't necessarily make these animals your friends. And we should also not plant this seed in people's minds that animals are here to offer us some kind of friendship, because let's face it, they're not. And this is really interesting because there's a lot of slogans that go around, such as friends not food, as I mentioned, or for example, when we say love them, don't eat them. You don't have to love them in order not to eat them. Now, I'll give you an example why I believe this is the better way to approach it. If you're talking about a certain human rights-based issue and someone says, well, I don't really particularly have any love or compassion towards humans, does that then mean that this person can have a green card into discriminating and acting in a specific way towards this certain minority of humans? Of course not, because the moral value and the moral consideration that we should have towards other humans is not based on the fact of whether or not we like them or we love them or we have compassion towards them. I repeat, if you do, that's really great. I do wish that we all live in a world with more compassion. But when we're talking about animal rights, we have to make sure that people realize that this is a rights-based issue. This is about animals having their rights violated, animals having their lives taken away from them, animals being separated from their families, animals being constantly exploited and discriminated against just because of the way we have done things since ages, or just because of the way they look. And when you minimize all of this strong philosophical issue of animal rights into loving them instead of killing them, you kind of take away from what the movement is actually about, which is justice for animals. This is also why we find a lot of farmers who say, well, I love my animals, and we say, well, how weird that you love them and you kill them at the same time. But we have to ask ourselves, why are farmers talking about loving their animals if they're gonna end up killing them anyway? That's because the subject is changing from a justice issue, whether or not something is right or wrong, to whether or not we love animals or whether or not farmers love their animals. So let me know what you think about this, and let me know if you've made the same mistake as I have in the past and talked about compassion and love, etc., etc., instead of talking about justice and animal rights in general. The second